And a very good day to you, fellow Watford supporter, wherever you may be across the world. Welcome to You Orns pre-match. Omar Moore here on this very good Saturday. I do hope you're well. It is Saturday, the 14th of September. And of course, today, Watford take on Coventry City as the international break is over. Back to football, back to business for Watford FC as this men's first team take on Coventry City at Vicarage Road. This is going to be a game I think that's going to be quite interesting for Watford, tricky for Watford in some ways. Watford have got to be careful with a game like this. They, of course, had a bad taste in their mouth during that international break because they went into it with a bad taste in their mouth, having lost their first game of the season against Sheffield United, were the opponent at the time. And at that time, we talked about Watford's lack of real bite in the game against United, as if they were looking already with one eye toward the international break. You know, you can't play football that way. And I think that the lads found that out a couple of weeks ago. But they are back ready to go, raring to go, and refreshed. And I think what you'll see today is an reinvigorated Watford, a team that I think are going to be galvanized by their home crowd. Of course, Watford have not been great at home over the last few seasons, but this season has shown a marked improvement for Watford. Again, this is a Watford side who had only won 6 games last season and, have already won 4 this season from the 4 that they have played. 2 of those, of course, in the Championship and 2 of those in the Carabao Cup. Well, what Watford have in September is a challenge. Of course, they've already lost the first game of their campaign this month at the beginning of the month, right at the start. And of course, they've got the likes of Manchester City to come this month. And they've got Coventry today. Again, a tricky side that are going to be a bit of trouble, I think, for Watford today. Coventry, a team in the bottom 8, played pretty well against Watford in a number of games. We've seen this over the last few years. Coventry have been a very tricky customer for the Hornets, particularly at home, where Watford have not beaten them in the last, I think, 3 outings at Vicarage Road in the Championship. Coventry away from home have been tough for Watford as well. Watford have taken leads, 2-0 leads in each of the last 2 visits to Coventry, but have not come away with 3 points in either. And so Watford will be looking today, at least when they're at home against Coventry, to turn things around against the Sky Blues, who have, as I said, been a tricky outfit. They held them to a draw last season. The season before that, Watford lost to Coventry at home. And so Watford today looking to improve their results record against Coventry City, who have a very good manager, by the way, it must be said, in Mark Robbins, who has done some very good things to Coventry. Remember, he took Coventry to the playoffs literally a couple of seasons ago, took them to the playoff final against those hated rivals up the road. And it took till, I think, extra time or penalties for Coventry to be knocked out at Wembley in that championship playoff final just a couple of years ago now, back in 2022 or 23, I forget which. But the bottom line is 22, I think it was, as Coventry fell to defeat there against our bitter rivals up the road. But I think Coventry, despite their start, they've won, I think, just one of their first 3 or 4 games. They find themselves in the bottom 8. I think we'll play a lot better today. Watford, of course, have a lineup that should be quite a good one. You know, we've had a lot of injuries already. Kevin is not healthy. He has a small knee injury anyway. He came to us that way. Ogbonna is not quite up to it yet. He's out of the side. And Ngakia looks like a more longer-term injury, according to Tom Cleverley. He's not playing. And so you've got these injuries building up. And so you get a little bit concerned about that if you're a Watford supporter, a little bit concerned about the welfare of these players who are beginning to get the injuries already. And we've only gone, 4 games into a season so far. And that said, the lineup is like this. Bachmann, Sirialta, Porteous. This is your lineup today against Coventry City. It's Bachmann, it's Porteous, it's Pollock. Larouci gets the start as well. I'm surprised by that one with Larouci because I thought Larouci was better suited to coming off the bench. But Tom Cleverley obviously disagrees with me, and he's got Larouci starting. Now, Andrews is starting, as you'd expect. Sissoko, the captain, steady Eddie in the middle of the park. He'll look to bounce back from his least effective, or I should say, most ineffective game that he's had for the Hornets in his second spell with the club. And of course, we've got Deli Bashiru, TDB, the ever reliable one, who also wasn't quite up to it in the game against Sheffield United a couple of weeks ago. He starts alongside, of course, the captain of the side, Musa Sissoko. And then you've got Georgie, who had a really good international break, by the way. Georgie had a spectacular international break, scoring at least once in the games for his home country. And then, of course, you have the likes of Kayembe, who disappeared in the game last week, 2 weeks ago, and then Bayo, who also did not have the greatest of games as well. But look, 2 weeks on now, we wonder if these lads will turn this around. Look, it's just one game that they lost, but you learn a lot about your club when they've lost the game. You don't really learn a lot about your club when they're winning 4 in a row, when they've gone undefeated, when they've had a 100% record. You don't learn anything about them. You're very happy with them. There's an upside to that, but you really start to learn about your club and what you've got with your club when the defeat happens, when the losses happen. That's when you start to learn about your football club. And we will see today, after that defeat 2 weeks ago, how much we learn about Watford Football Club, this men's first team. And the substitutions, I should point out, Jonathan Bond, Johnny Bond, the old reliable. We've seen Johnny Bond here before at our club. He is in goal on the substitutes bench. Paul Ince, I keep saying Paul Ince, I mean his son, Tom Ince, of course, has the 2-year deal with Watford. He will be on the bench for us today. Rico Vata, who we really want to see more of. I would love to see him get some minutes today. He is on the bench. And also on the bench today, Ken Sema. I really would have preferred Ken Sema start this game, quite frankly. Kenny, look, he was in the international break. I think they had a pretty decent international break, did Ken Sema with his native Sweden. I would love to see him start one of these games in the championship. But again, he's coming off the bench for Tom Cleverley today. And then Duomo off the bench as well, Pierre Duomo, and Jebison, Daniel Jebison on the bench as well. I expect to see him come into this game at some point. Rajovic, as you know, has been given his marching orders to go to Brondby for a season-long loan. I want to talk about that one, by the way, in a few minutes' time with about Rajovic. And then Doumbia, Morris, and Ebosele. Morris, by the way, was starting these games, but what Tom Cleverley did with this lineup is put Porteous in over Morris, which I actually think is a better move, a wiser move, considering Ogbonna is out currently. I don't see anything wrong with that move. James Morris was trying to do a couple of things in the first few games, play on that left side and also play central defensively. And I think you can only do that with him in these cup games, although we'll see what happens against Manchester City. What you've seen now with Tom Cleverley, he's made the switch and he's put Ryan Porteous in. And I think that's a smart move. Ryan Porteous had a good international break as well with his native country in Scotland. And so you want to put someone in, I think, who's ready for the fight. He's a very physical defender, Porteous. He's got to be wise with what he does. And I would like to see him come in there. But really, when you've got the absolute healthiest Watford back line, I really think it pays to have, obviously, Pollock, Sierralta, and, of course, Ogbonna as your 3 starters at the back 3. But, of course, because we've got no Ogbonna currently, you're going to have this switcheroo between Morris and Porteous. And Porteous is much more well-suited, I think, to this. And today, against a Coventry side that is physical, a Coventry side that can play with pace, a Coventry side that likes to whip the ball into the box, you want somebody like Porteous, who just throws his head anywhere he can put it, to be in that Watford back line. Now, the defending today is going to be very important, like it is every game. I think today Watford have to continue to defend like a team. I think that's obvious. And Watford also have to be a bit more confident going forward. You didn't see a lot of that in the game a couple of weeks ago. But I think today Watford are going to be more energetic, come out with the same kind of energy and purpose that you did in these other home matches. You're at home. You got some confidence at home. Build that confidence now. You've had 2 weeks to think about it. Many of the team who aren't going away, who didn't go away internationally, you've had these 2 weeks to work on things on the training pitch. And I think it's time now to show everybody what you're made of. And as I said, you learn much more about your team when they've lost the game. And we will see how much Watford would have learned today after this one between Watford and, of course, Coventry City, who come into the Vic in the bottom 8. What I'm about to do is go live on the likes of Instagram, so please bear with me as I do that here on this edition of the You ORNS pre-match on YouTube. It's great to have you aboard here. And so we will be live in a few short moments time. I do want to thank you all for coming in on this brand new edition now. Hello there, everyone on YouTube and on Instagram. Thank you for coming in on this brand new edition of You ORNS pre-match live. Yours truly, Omar Moore here, Watford fan here, live from San Francisco, California. It's always good to have you aboard. Thank you very much for watching. You can put your comments in, of course, as always, whether you're on Instagram or on YouTube. Very good to have you aboard on You ORNS pre-match ahead of Watford versus Coventry City at Vicarage Road. It is great to get back to league football after the 2-week international break. And whichever country you are a part of, I hope that your lot did well, except if you're playing against England, of course. England did pretty decently, I'd say, in these matches that they played. But I want to say hello to everybody who's come in. Jack Boddington, hello to you from down under. Always a pleasure to have you aboard here on You ORNS Extra, or I should say You ORNS pre-match. It's great to see you there down under, live from Australia, where it is in the nighttime now. It's probably around 9 o'clock at night on Saturday night in Australia. It's really good to do. Good to see you. And how are you? I'm very good, says Jack Boddington. Hello, Omar. How are you, sir? Jack, I'm very good. Thank you very much. How are you today down under? It's about 9 o'clock in the evening there, isn't it? 9 o'clock at night in Australia right now on Saturday night. Please let us know. I want to talk about what I promised I would talk about for those of you on YouTube who've had the chance to hear me talk so far for the last few minutes. I want to talk a bit about Rajovic. And I didn't do a podcast or a YouTube during the international break, but I do want to talk about Rajovic. Some of us have not been too fond of him, shall we say, to put it nicely, and other Watford fans actually appreciate him because he scores goals, which unfortunately Bio does not do nearly enough of. But I'm a big fan of Bio, and I do think that he's got more of an upside to him than Rajovic does. So there we go. But there's a Jack Boddington, by the way, has just told us, thank you, Jack, for this. I'm great at the minute, 9:23 at night in Australia. So there, I was absolutely right. In the 9 o'clock hour tonight, 9 o'clock on Saturday night in Australia, 9:23 to be precise. Thank you, Jack, for that. Took the girlfriend to the movies, now ready for Watford. Good job there. Good job. I'm glad that you did take the girlfriend to the movies, and I'm sure that you had a good time there. Excellent stuff there, Jack. Thank you very much. Billy Hughes has joined us. Billy, good morning and good afternoon. Good morning here. It is 6:23 in the morning here in San Francisco, California, 9:23 at night in Australia. And Billy Hughes has joined us as well on Instagram. Those of you watching on YouTube, you are more than welcome to put in a comment. I do want to talk about Rajovic for a moment. Thank you very much, Watford on top. Great to see you. And good morning to you, Billy Hughes. Thank you very much indeed. Hello, Watford on top on Instagram. But I want to talk about, for a quick moment here, Rajovic. Rajovic is someone who some Watford fans don't mind, and a lot of Watford fans like me really don't care for, or some of us don't care for. The idea that he'd be loaned out for a season-long loan at Brøndby, a Danish club, means to me that there is no further plan for him at Vicarage Road. Obviously, this season, there's no further plan. But despite what Tom Cleverley says, oh, yes, he's part of our plans, I don't buy that. I just don't. I think that if he is part of your plans, you would have used him this season, and you would have kept him here for the whole season. I really don't see why you'd ship him out on loan. And if you really think that there is a plan for him this season, we have only 2 other strikers. If one of those 2 strikers goes down injured, we are very thin up top in that striker's role. But what it tells me is that Tom Cleverley is not going to rely on strikers alone this season. He is going to rely on those other forward players around them to score goals. It's already happened in his system. Kayembe's scored 3 goals already, right? You've had the likes of other players scoring goals. Ryan Andrews has scored goals already in this season. So just in the early going, Watford have scored 15 goals this season, and I think only 4 or 5 of them have come from the strikers. So, I don't think that Tom Cleverley probably thought that he needed 3 strikers. And so he probably made the calculation that we could get rid of a striker, and the system that he's playing probably would have made it easier so that he could go with the 2 strikers. Now, look, Bio's not scoring nearly enough. I get that. I know. I've been a criticizer of his, and I'm a big fan. But yes, he needs to score more. He works like hell for the team, which is something I really love. That counts for a lot for me when someone really puts in a shift, even if they don't score. But yes, I'd love to see Bio score more. Jack Boddington has pointed out, by the way, that I think Bio may lose motivation as he's gone now. If so, we need Jebo to start firing. Yeah, we do need Jebo to start firing. I mean, he's played just 20 minutes of a game. But yes, I think that in the next couple of games, we want to start seeing him get going. And it usually does take a new member of a team, 2 or 3 games before they get going. It's not true for everyone. Strikers, though, certainly have greater pressure on them. It's the hardest thing to do in football, obviously, to put the ball in the back of the net. But Daniel Jebison, listen to me. Daniel Jebison, DJ, I'll just call him DJ. DJ needs to get going. I agree with you there. My prediction for the day, I'll get into that in a moment. But one last thing about Rajovic is this. I don't think he's going to come. I think he'll come back to Watford, but I don't think that Watford are going to keep him on when he comes back for next season. I don't think he's going to be here. I think that he will not play any more football at Watford. I think that the metrics are going to change between now and June or July of 2025. That's obviously next year. And I expect that there will be a decision made to say goodbye to Rajovic. I think that that's what's going to happen because it doesn't matter what somebody says, although words, of course, are obviously very important. It matters what somebody does. And I think that the club, and I think Tom Cleverley, are going to come to the decision that they don't need Rajovic. And I think that they're going to price that in to how the season goes, obviously. And also it's going to be priced in based upon what prospects they're looking at now. Because understand something. The footballing scouts at Watford are constantly looking for new people to come in here. They're constantly looking for new strikers, new defenders. They're constantly looking. So this notion that we'll bring him back and he'll play, and I could be proven wrong, and I'd be happy to be proven wrong, believe me. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think that there are players in the pipeline at the club, or that players in the pipeline that the front office are looking at, the recruiters are looking at, down the line, down the road, that they've got their eye on. And Tom Cleverley's even said this pre-season that there were players, and even during the transfer window and deadline day, that there were players that they've had their eyes on for a long time, and now they finally brought them in. I think the same thing is going to be true of what you're going to see between now and next transfer, not the January transfer window, but literally the transfer window way down the line here next summer. And I don't think Rajovic is going to be part of that. I don't care what Clev says about Rajovic. He is not, in my view, Rajovic is not going to play a further part in Watford's plans. We'll see. Give me your thoughts on that. Hit the YouTube and hit the Instagram for that. Prediction time today. Now, I've been really accurate on these predictions, except I've been off by 1 goal. Every single time I've been off by 1 goal. So today, I'm going to go with Watford 2, Coventry City 1. That's going to be my prediction today. Watford 2, Coventry City 1 in this contest at Vicarage Road. Coventry are such a tricky outfit. They do play well at Vicarage Road. The last 3 occasions they have been able to come away with at least a point. One of them was a win a couple of seasons ago. One of them was a point just last season. That's my prediction. What is yours? Jack Boddington has asked me about the prediction. That's mine, Jack. Watford 2, Coventry 1. Now, Harry, hello to you. Good to see you, Harry. Watford is on top, has given a 5-3 prediction. Your predictions, please, on Watford versus Coventry. We'll do this for about another 5 or 6 minutes or so on this You ORNS pre-match. It is great to see you here. Thank you so very much to you on YouTube who are watching. Thank you very much for that. We'll go for another 5 minutes or so here as we get ready at the top of the hour for Watford against Coventry. Your predictions are welcome. We've had a number of them already. Mine is a 2-1 for Watford, Watford 2, Coventry 1. We've had Watford is on top with a 5-3 prediction, Watford 5, Coventry 3. And then as far as everything else is concerned, Jack Boddington has said, I'm going to be bold and say 4-1 to the Orns. Thank you very much, Jack, for your prediction, as Jack Boddington down under has told us that it's going to be Watford 4, Coventry City 1 today at Vicarage Road. Watford looking to bounce back from their only defeat so far in this campaign. That was the 1-0 loss on the very first day of this month to Sheffield United, who, by the way, since then have gone from strength to strength. Last night, Sheffield United won at Hull City by a score of 2-0. Sheffield United are in 3rd or 4th place at the moment. I think it's 4th. Watford in 5th before start of play today. We hope for the best, says Watford is on top. Yes, we do. I agree, Watford is on top. We do hope for the best. Thank you there, Watford is on top on Instagram, for your comment and for your predictions as well. Ollie, Watford FC, has joined us. Hello, Ollie, there on Instagram. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you there. Ollie WFC, thank you for joining us today on You ORNS pre-match on both Instagram and on YouTube. To the YouTube viewers, thank you very much indeed. Don't forget to subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel. It would be great to have you aboard. So please subscribe and spread the word about it. We are going to be doing some good things here this season, not just here at You ORNS, but also on the pitch. I think Watford FC, I think they have a good year, better season than a lot of people have expected so far. Now, I predicted that they'd finish in around 8th or 9th or 10th this season. Right now, they're 5th, having a very stellar month of August. At some point, we'll find out who the manager of the month is, if that's not already been given out. I think it will be given out in the next couple of days, if not already, as we get ready for September football to continue after Watford lost against Sheffield United. That was a learning lesson for Watford. But as I said earlier, for folks on YouTube, I'll say it again for those of you watching on Instagram, is that you learn a lot more about your football team, or your football club, when they lose a game than you do that when they win a game. And you all knew, everybody watching knew, that Watford would not go one season without losing. They were always going to lose a game. Now the question becomes, how do Watford bounce back from the defeat from 2 weeks ago? That's the key here. I think that Watford players probably were looking, forgive me for saying on the beach, but they were looking, I think, they had an eye on that international break. I think that's really what was going on there. And also, they ran into a team that wanted it more in Sheffield United. They've got to give Sheffield United some credit from a couple of weeks ago. But you turn the page now on that game from 2 weeks ago. That's gone. Now it's an opportunity for Watford to get back into the winning column and to make the month of September one where they continue to build their momentum off of what they did in August. August is gone. It's gone. Now it's time in this September to build on that August success where they were perfect 100% and just need to rediscover the scoring touch. They went scoreless for the first time this season. That, of course, came 2 weeks ago. And hopefully they will pick up a little bit of what the Watford women have done. If they can score the amount of goals that Watford women have scored in the last week or so, I think they'll be all right today. I think the prediction that Watford is on top made would certainly not be far-fetched, and nor would Jack Boddington's, because if you've been watching the Watford women, and I do watch the Watford women and watch the highlights of their games as well, they scored 8 goals last week in a game in the Southern Premier Division. 8-0 they scored. They won 8-0 in a game against the MK Dons. And then the Watford women's team before that, 4 days before, scored 7 goals away from home in a cup match. So they scored 15 goals in 4 days, this Watford women's team. So if the Watford men can get a little bit of that goal scoring going on, I think the result will be pretty good today for us. We shall see about that. Matt, hello, Matt, on YouTube. Thank you so very much for chiming in here, Matt. He says this on YouTube: Watford need to get out at the start of this game and start stinging early. Gonna say 3-1. That's the prediction of Matt. Come on, you Orns, he says. 3-1 Watford. Come on, you Orns. Thank you very much, Matt, on YouTube with the prediction. Matt, thank you very much indeed. So they're the predictions we've had here. I've said 2-1. You just heard me read out Matt's comment and prediction. He says 3-1. Watford on top has said 5-3. And Jack Boddington has said 4-1. All in favor of Watford at home today against Coventry City, who again have been tricky the last 3 times that they've been at the Vic. They've come away with points each and every time, Coventry. So this is going to be a good game for Watford. It's going to be a tricky one for them as well. I think Coventry will play very well, but I think Watford will ultimately find a way to win. And that's why I'm going with a 2-1 scoreline. They've got a very good manager, Coventry, and Mark Robbins, who, as I said before, I went on Instagram, I'm sorry. As I said, this guy that they've got as their manager, Mark Robbins, is a blooming good manager. He's been around the game forever. He took Coventry, you may remember, a couple of seasons ago to the playoff finals, where they really blew it against that lot from up the road that we cannot stand. I think there was a penalty miss in that game, in the penalty shootout at Wembley. And that's why Coventry weren't in the Premier League last season, because they really should have won that game. They didn't. And so, look, they've been knocking on the door, Coventry. They did pretty well in the championship last season, but this season they start in the bottom 8 after 4 games. They have not played particularly well overall, but you never know. A trip to Watford is always something that galvanizes teams. And Watford need to be aware of what the game plan is going to be. It's going to be to frustrate us. Coventry and all these other sides try to do that when they come in here. They come to frustrate. They come to stifle us. They come to muck the game up, mess it up, muddy the game up. And you can expect that's going to happen today at the Vic. Now, let me read out your comments. Furthermore, on Instagram, Jack Boddington says, I hope we can bounce back. Cleverly seems to have a really resilient mindset, so I hope it rubs off on the team. Yes, I do too, Jack. I do hope so. Clevs has put this side out, which I read out earlier. Porteous in that starting lineup, among others. Otherwise, it's unchanged, really. The only real change is Ryan Porteous coming in. James Morris hits the bench for Watford, and of course, DJ, that's Daniel Jebison. I'll call him DJ from now on. DJ on the bench as well. So we'll see about that. Jack has also said that Watford women have been on fire lately. Absolutely. Harrison, thank you for joining us here on Instagram. Welcome to You Orns pre-match. We'll be going for just 2 minutes more before I have to say goodbye to get ready, of course, for the match at the top of the hour. Come on, boys. 3 points, says Harrison Allardyce. Harrison, good to talk to you, and thank you for that comment. We have been giving out our predictions today. All of us as Watford supporters have been chiming in on our verdict, what we think the match will look like when the whistle blows for the final whistle. So we'll see. All of us have predicted a Watford win today. We've had 3-1 on YouTube from Matt. We've had a 5-3 score from Watford is on top on Instagram. We've had a 4-1 scoreline from Jack Boddington on Instagram. And Harrison Allardyce has said, come on, boys, 3 points. So I would assume that's a prediction, but it's also an exhortation for the Golden Boys today as they take on Coventry City and, of course, the manager, Mark Robbins there, who is one of the best managers in the championship. I really respect him. He's done some really good things at Coventry. Of course, Coventry City are a team that are very tricky. I don't expect there to be a lot of goals today, but you never know. Harrison has now chipped in. Thank you, Harrison, with the comment. 2-0 win, says Harrison on Instagram. Thank you, Harrison, for that comment. So a lot of us, all of us who've have predicted a Watford win. Harrison is the only person who has predicted a clean sheet win. But nonetheless, A win is a win is a win. And if we can get a clean sheet, Harrison, that would be great as well to bounce back after the 1-0 defeat a couple of weeks ago. But I'm predicting 2-1 today for Watford. And one other thing I've got to say before I do close things up here, Watford have got to avoid conceding goals in the first 90 seconds of a game. For the last 2 games now, if you've been looking at the championship, Watford have gone into the first 2 minutes and they've already conceded. They conceded after 90 seconds against Sheffield United, and that was the only goal of the entire game. They conceded in the first 95 seconds of the game against Derby County the week before. And that was the only goal for Derby. So Watford today, one of the other key things that they've got to do is switch on from the very beginning of this match and do not concede any early goals or any late goals or any goals, just especially when you start these games, because you're chasing the game from the moment. If you concede early, you're already chasing the game and your game plan has already been thrown out the window. So gotta be very careful. Defend as a team, switch on from the very opening whistle, and focus and concentrate on the game from the very start. If Watford do that, I think they'll be able to ride out the pressure that they'll get, and then they'll be able to turn on the jets, move the ball quicker, get that midfield pipeline working again so that you can connect the forwards to the midfield. And I think that Watford can get the job done today. But again, it's going to be a tricky game. But the first couple of minutes, I'll be watching very closely to see how Watford deal with that. Thank you very much, Jack Boddington. Thanks for your time again, Omar. See you after full time for You ORNS Extra, WFC Extra. Thank you, Jack. I'll see you after the match right here on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. Thank you. Join me on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live on YouTube and Instagram. I'll be doing that. Come to Instagram a bit later on, but definitely will be on both channels and, of course, on X as well after the match with the You ORNS post-match. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone, for your comments. Great to see you all as Watford fans across the world today. And look, we've got a small matter of Watford versus Coventry at the top of the hour at Vicarage Road. Back from the international break. My name is Omar. Please subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel, and please also follow along on X at You ORNS WFC and on Instagram also at You ORNS WFC. Of course, there will be a podcast. There definitely will be a podcast this weekend at some point, because I didn't do one last time, but it's a summary of what we will be seeing and what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, plus tonight's match or today's match. So wherever you are across the world, fellow Watford fans, my name is Omar. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you again right after the match. Come on, You ORNS. Take care now. You ORNS. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you after the game.